Hi there, well it's nice to be back in New Zealand. We had about 10 days away, as I'm sure you saw, in Britain and France, an opportunity to do some wonderful things. We started the trip actually by commemorating Anzac Day in France. Went to a little town called Licminoir, which is really with the last sort of actions of the Kiwis, if you like, before armistice in 1918, where they liberated this fortified town and saved the French people. There's an enormous connection as a result of that, and everything from streets named after the All Blacks right through to an annual celebration of the Kiwis and their brave efforts. Then went out for a very moving ceremony at Caterpillar Cemetery, which is the Somme, Battle of the Somme on the Western Front. A lot of Kiwis buried there. At Caterpillar Cemetery, I think there's about 1,250 New Zealanders, of only of which about 250 actually have their own headstone and burial plot. The other 1,000 were unknown. That is the area where the tomb from the Unknown Warrior was created. That was the New Zealander that was brought home for the tomb for the Unknown Warrior here in Wellington. So that was very moving. We went on to Monday to a service at Hyde Park. Every year it fluctuates between Australia and New Zealand. This year it was Australia's turn to host it. We're in Hyde Park pretty close to each other. Aussies were very generous. They allowed me to give the main speech, and a lot of Aussies and Kiwis turned up. And then from there actually down to Whitehall for the laying of the wreaths, and then down to Westminster Abbey, first time of the 2 times in the week that I went there. That's a huge Anzac service there. If you ever get an opportunity to go, you should definitely go. It's very moving again, and the Abbey's just a wonderful place. It's a huge building, but quite intimate as well in its own special way. So that was a very important part of the trip. We also met up with a lot of political leaders. Had dinner with David Cameron, had a chance to catch up with the French President Nicolas Sarkozy, also saw the French Prime Minister Francois Fillon, their Finance Minister Lagarde, and their Foreign Minister Juppé. And in the UK, a great many people that we had a chance to exchange views with. I think what you come away with on that trip is that New Zealand's actually in quite good shape. I mean, the UK debt levels are 70% of GDP, so they're fairly indebted. From a government perspective, we're about 19%. We're going to get back into surplus, as you'll see from the budget, relatively soon. They're a long way into the future. Unemployment's higher in both France and the UK than it is in New Zealand. So overall, it's been a difficult time for Kiwis the last 2.5, 3 years as we've battled through the global financial crisis, the disasters we've had in Pike River and the Canterbury earthquakes. But even so, on balance, New Zealand's still in a lot better shape, I think. So good trip. And a great opportunity to exchange views and get a sense of where those two very important countries are going from New Zealand's perspective. Of course, the week finished off with the wedding at Westminster Abbey. A wonderful couple, and I'm sure they'll have a marvellous life together. It was a privilege to represent New Zealand along with Brona at that wedding. And it was quite a day. I don't think I'll ever forget. There was about 1 million people on the streets, people out celebrating. People stayed for days. My very own sister actually spent the night sleeping out in Pall Mall, and again some great photos the next day as the carriages and everyone went past. And we went down to Buckingham Palace after the event. About 600 of us for a post sort of wedding function, if you like, and that was a great opportunity again to catch up with lots of people. Very much like going to a family wedding in a funny kind of way, except the guests were people that you knew and saw on TV a fair bit, from the Queen right through to anyone else. But yeah, it was a great opportunity and something I'll never forget. We've also announced, as part of the budget, a commitment to try and get more young people into work and into training. We've run a couple of very successful schemes in the past, one of them called Job Ops, or Job Opportunities, the other one called Community Max. We've now announced that we're putting $55 million into training young people, the 16 to 24-year-old category we're particularly interested in. There's 3 different programs we're running. One of them is actually putting $5,000 into employers if they can send the young person off to a qualification or training for NZQA Level 2. The other one is on-the-job training. Again, we were paying $5,000 to the employer. And the third one is an extension of the Limited Services Volunteer Program, which you may have seen before, affectionately known as boot camps, but actually a great program that sets boundaries and discipline, but also has literacy and numeracy skills as well. This is going to be a very tight budget going into 2011, effectively a balanced budget or zero budget. That reflects the times and conditions we're in. I think we're doing the right thing. It's not easy being a Prime Minister, or in Bill English's case, Minister of Finance, when you've got no more money to spend. But let's be honest, it's more important, I think, that we get the books back in order, that we take the pressure off the Reserve Bank, that interest rates don't go up, that we have an environment where our companies can borrow money and therefore grow their businesses, that you as homeowners are not paying higher interest rates through your mortgages. All of that makes a lot of difference. If you owe $200,000 to your bank and you're on a floating rate mortgage, when National came into office, you were paying $10,000 a year more than you're currently paying today because interest rates have come off so much. So that's what good economic management can do: take the pressure off interest rates over time, the pressure off the exchange rate, make a more outward focused, competitive economy, and one that can deliver opportunities for you and your family, both now and into the future. So tough budget round, but a good announcement, and one that I think will help those young people that are very much in need.